Hey geeks, what's up? I have a lot of stuff. I got a stack of stuff to show you. I'm probably not going to be able to fit it into one video. But the purpose of this channel mostly is to document my obsessions with comics and movies and books, but mostly comics as they come up. So in my last video, which is currently languishing at 13 views, even though it was released 7 days ago and prominently features Batman Hush 2. I guess the algorithm didn't pick that one up for some reason. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe I said some bad words in that video or something like that. But I don't know. I would have thought that showing a few pages of Hush 2 would have boosted the views. I mean, not like it's going to get me anywhere near monetization, which I don't, I'm realistic. I don't have any interest in that. But yeah, it's still, I mean, I do videos on old school comics that get like 60, 110 views. So I don't know. Weird. Whatever, YouTube. Whatever. Anyway, I bought, in that last video, I shared that Project Superpowers book from Dynamite that I bought. And I started reading that, and I really loved it. Really loved it. I devoured it. I think I read it like in 2 or 3 nights. This book right here. It's a thick one. Very cool. Very cool book. I thumbed through it in the previous video, so show some love to that previous video. It's languishing. Captain Future, or is he? Doesn't have the views that previous video. But yeah, I said it had Watchmen vibes. Definitely had Watchmen vibes. It's the, I think it's kind of the modus operandi of Alex Ross and Jim Kruger. With these types of superhero books, it's kind of got Watchmen vibes. You talking like team dynamics, moral dilemmas, old school superhero values thrown into the current world, or some facsimile of the current modern world. Traditionalism versus postmodernism. All those themes are wrapped up in a book like this, so it's just it's just another example of how Watchmen was such a transcendent and important work, I think, in comics, and it spawned a lot of other, I wouldn't say imitators, but it's kind of become a genre of its own in comics. And because of my love for that, I had to run out and get Volume 2, which is mostly focused on the comics that they did for Black Terror and his sidekick Tim, and Squadron, was it Supreme Squadron Commander? What was his name? But that's the heart of the story, is he wants to find out what happened to his friend from World War II. And it turns out that, well, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it turns out that his friend has been assimilated into the corporate system. Let's just put it that way. And Black Terror is none too happy about that. Along the way, he meets with some of the other superpowered heroes from the Superpowers Project team, and it continues kind of in the tradition of Volume 1. more story concepts by Alex Ross and writing by Jim Kruger. So, of course, loving Volume 2, I had to go get Volume 3. This one is also, Volume 2 wasn't that thick. This one's about as thick as the first volume, so around 500 pages. Yeah, this one really focuses on Masquerade, who's a really, really cool character. And I kind of remember her from looking at like old Golden Age comics and so forth. She's probably one of the first female superheroes, although she doesn't really have any superpowers. She's just very smart, has detective skills, is Johnny on the spot with the 2 pistols that she carries, always dresses in red, and but she has gained a little bit of superpower from the experience that all of these heroes spent in the mystical urn. So a little bit of backstory. Project Superhero basically took all of these now royalty-free superheroes from the Golden Age. So there's no copyright claim on these heroes. You and I could write stories about these superheroes. Nobody owns the rights to these heroes. And so they plugged them into this book. They wrote this big, massive storyline around them. And essentially what it was is they were all, involved in World War II, fighting together against the Nazis. And they were betrayed by the Fighting Yank. And the Fighting Yank had what he thought was good reason to sort of take this magical urn, which basically sucked this other superheroes into whatever realm that urn represented, some mystical realm. And he thought he was doing this for actually to save the world. That's what he was told by the spirit of the I know this is crazy, but that's what he was told by the spirit of the American Revolution that kind of like whispers in the Fighting Yank's ear, and who's like his great-great-great-grandfather or something like that. Only in comics, folks. These kinds of things only happen in comics. And so that was the backstory. So fast forward to the modern day, the Fighting Yank is now a bitter old man, and he's retired, and but the American spirit, which is not the ghost that hangs out with Fighting Yank, American spirit looks like a floating American flag, comes to him and says, oh, you got to crack open the urn. You got to go find the urn and crack it open because it's time to release these superheroes because the world needs them. So all these Golden Age superheroes from World War II are, boom, thrown into the postmodern age and have to grapple with, the world as it very much is today in the real world. I thought they did a pretty good job of that. So, yeah, that's the backstory. And so there's a bunch of different plot points that come from that. Let's see what we've got here. So this book covers a lot of the shoot-off comics that came from Project Superheroes. So we've got Masquerade, and the Masquerade stories are, a lot of them are told in flashback, so they sort of like develop her character more. And she fights these Nazis who are like feeding souls into this giant robot. She teams up with the other superheroes to take down this giant soul-eating robot. You can see that right there. Really cool cover here. I love that cover on the left. And we have issues. Oh, there's some more issues of Masquerade. Also, a few issues of Green Llama. He's one of the heroes that they brought back. Really love this character. So I kind of remember Green Llama also from just perusing various Golden Age comics over the years, reprints mostly, or seeing them online, or even I've got some encyclopedias of comic books and stuff that have a lot of those Golden Age heroes in them. And Green Llama is in this story. He doesn't get sucked into the urn. He also escapes it, so he ages through the years, but he doesn't age because of his mystical power. So Green Llama's hanging out in Shangri-La, hidden deep into the mountains somewhere in Tibet. If you know anything about Shangri-La, it is a mythical city that is hidden deep in the Himalayan mountains. No one knows where to find it except the people that live there. In the end times, the armies of Shangri-La will ride out across the world to defeat the final ultimate evil. It's kind of the it is Buddhist, but it's more of a Tibetan Buddhist strain of it's their version of the Book of Revelations, from the Christian Bible. So Green Llama has been like meditating there for like 40 years, and in that process, he's figured out how to manipulate what he calls the meta-natural world. So he has control over plants and trees. And he can even use them as a mode of travel, which is pretty wild. So there he is, like calling upon his green power. And he becomes, he's basically one of the leaders of the group. I really like his character. Yeah, because he's kind of like the voice of reason in the character. He's the counterpart to Black Terror. Like Black Terror is like Batman. He's like, he just wants to let's just get him. Green Llama's like, no, let's meditate on this and reason it out and try to figure out methodically what we want to do. So I like that dynamic between the two characters. They really they fight each other, but they're frenemies. Yeah, there's a few issues of the Devil in here too. The Devil is another Golden Age hero, and in these issues, he comes up against. He's the one in blue and red. There's another Devil who wears green and purple, and so there's a few issues of them squaring off. So the issues in this one sort of take place in between volumes 1 and volume 2, or so. I don't know. There's a chronological order, but they address it in each one of these books. So if you read all 3 volumes, you're not going to miss out. Who else is in here? The Scarab. Oh, the Owl. Yeah, so I got 4 issues of the Owl as well. And Owl Girl. Although Owl Girl didn't make it into the urn, so she didn't get transported to the future, but he finds her great-granddaughter. And it turns out that Owl Girl's the new Owl Girl is not a good person. So again, it's a story of this like clash of values, whereas the old school Owl man is wondering why Owl Girl is so violent and so brutal towards the villains, where he just wants to like knock them out with a good right hook like they did back in the day. She's like cutting them up with throwing like knives and stuff at him, and he's like, yo, can you turn it down? Just tune down the violence. And she's like, that's not the way the world works now, pal, old man. And so they come to blows over that eventually, and she kind of gets out of control, and she goes bad. They are fighting. So yeah, I think Owl Girl, the way they leave it at the end of the last issue, she's breaking bad. Owl Girl is breaking bad. Artwork in all these is pretty decent too. Alex Ross does basically all the covers, which is cool. Let's see what else we got in here. They have little sort of like origin vignettes with the characters, origin stories. You see, this one is for the death-defying devil. He's got that boomerang. That's his weapon. And then you've got Masquerade again. Green Llama. Man Cat. Oh, I like this guy. This guy's good. Mr. Face. He's actually a not a villain. He's a good guy. The Flame. It's another superhero who had his origins in like the Tibetan Buddhist monasteries. Pyro Man. Oh, this guy's good. Samson. Like he's literally Samson from the Bible. Only God can kill him, which is like really, it's pretty cool. He's kind of he's their big muscle. He's like, yeah, he's like their Superman. He's pretty much, yeah, they can't, he's got the power. You can't defeat Samson. Well, I mean, you can. Theoretically, everyone can get beat at some point. Ooh. How about some manga? I found one of these. I've been looking for this. I've got issues 3 and 4. I think there's only 6. No, actually, I think there's only 5 of these. By the infamous Go Nagai, Get a Robo De-Evolution. See if we can get some good shots of the robot. Yeah, so hopefully I'll fill out this collection. I found this used. Well, actually, they're all used now, but it's in brand new condition. So yeah, the Rann-Thanagar War Volumes 1 and 2, Jim Starlin. I've been on this Jim Starlin kick, this DC Jim Starlin kick with Mystery in Space. Strange Adventures, and then at some point he wrote, you know, the big old event in DC, the Rann-Thanagar, which I believe resulted in the utter destruction of Thanagar, which is the Hawkman planet, and probably of Rann too. Although I think Rann squeaked by. But the planet Rann has been destroyed like how many times as well? So, I think, you know, it's the comics. That's cool. Yeah, Booster Gold. Starlin was playing with all these characters: Hawkman, Captain Comet, Bizarro, Adam Strange, Booster Gold, the Veered, who's a character that he created for DC. A number of other characters too. Oh, Starfire's in this one. Oh, Sinner, or Sinner. Sinners, actually, is how you pronounce it. Yeah, all kinds of Jim Starlin epic space opera going on in here. So, oh yeah, art by Rob Lim. So yeah, I've been wanting to get these for a while. Is anybody reading New Gods by Ram V? It's good. I would have to say of all the current comics that are coming out, and I don't read a lot of current modern comics, but this one I bought issue number 1 because it's the New Gods. I hear relatively decent things about Ram V and his storytelling, so I got it. Ended up liking it quite a bit. Maybe not as much action in it as I would prefer, but that's my beef with modern comics overall. But I do like the storytelling, and I do like the artwork. They've been playing around with the artwork. They usually bring in 2 artists per book, and they'll start out with sort of like this old school style, which is the first part of each book is always told sort of like in a flashback that leads up to the modern or the current story. And then they bring you in this second artist who gives you kind of the more modern day artwork. And the artwork is great. Shades of Mobius there, or Jeff Darrow. Ooh, I shouldn't. We'll show more one page. This just came on the newsstands today, so that's all I'm going to show you. Probably shouldn't have shown that much, but this is issue number 5. Yeah, so it just hit. Bought it fresh hot off the rack at my local comic shop. So issue number 5, I imagine, yeah, the trade paperback will be coming out soon. Along with that, I've been buying the new Challengers of the Unknown too. Ultivac Strikes. We remember Ultivac from like issue number 2 or number 3 of Challengers of the Unknown, you know, back in the 60s. Was it the late 60s, just before Kirby jumped over to Marvel to do Fantastic Four? Anyway, these have been okay. There's enough going on that's made me follow it. As a Challengers of the Unknown fan, and it ties in with this DC All In stuff, which I guess is the follow up from Absolute Power, which I did not read. So a lot of these books now, the All In books are all connected and so forth. And then this also came on the newsstands today. I don't usually go for these gimmick comics, but I don't know. Godzilla versus Hulk, I was like, why not? I want to know what the deal is with Godzilla. Like, they just had Justice League versus Godzilla and Kong. Now Godzilla's over in these Marvel comic books. Like, who owns Godzilla? I know Legendary Pictures does the U.S. movies. I think Toho Films is still the actual owner of Godzilla. So maybe that's who's pulling the string. Like, I guess they're doing all the licensing and so forth. So I guess they've just been going around saying, "Hey, DC Comics, hey, Marvel, hey, Disney, you want to put Godzilla?" I mean, this one's got Mecha Godzilla. Yeah, this is also hot off the presses, so that's all I'm going to show you. But it's there's some good variant covers on it too. I didn't buy any of those, and it's feel like spending $14 for a variant. So I just got the $3.99 one. And right next to that was Godzilla Fantastic Four. I really like the artwork in this one. I really like it. I'm only going to show you one page or 2 pages. That's tight. Had to do it. Are you reading Absolute Batman? Issue number 7, hot off the presses. I wonder if maybe this is why the algorithm is killing me if I'm showing all these, but I'm only showing like 1 or 2 pages, YouTube. I promise. You can trust me. Yeah, so I have not read any of these. I have issues 1 through 7. I'm going to sit down and just go through them chronologically. That's how I like to read comics. I don't like to like read an issue and then like wait a month to read the second issue. I like to just get like 5 or 6 of them going and then just like, or just get a trade paperback and read. I need like the full immersion, experience. I need the full immersion comic book experience. Martian Manhunter #1. I wasn't planning on buying this, but everyone's raving about it. And it is interesting. You'll find other channels talking about it. It's this sort of pop art, the pop art artwork style that just kind of brought me in. And I like Martian Manhunter. And again, it ties into that All In. So I didn't really want to start collecting another book at this point, but really at this point, what does it matter? I mean, you've seen the volume. This is another one. I wasn't planning on buying it. The whole Energon universe, or Transformer, G.I. Joe, all the various characters. I'm destined to just only get those in the trade paperbacks as they come out. I've got the Cobra Commander TPB. I've mentioned in my last video, I just finished Volume 1 of Void Rivals, which is where you begin with Energon Universe. It was great. But this was too good to pass up. This is beautiful. I mean, you talk about a Frank Miller vibe. There are, I think, 2 or 3 other G.I. Joe silent mission books out today. I didn't like the artwork in any of them. And for me, if you're going to do a silent mission type book, you better have badass artwork. And this book has badass artwork. So I grabbed it. So as part of my, so I started talking to AI. I started talking to AI about Project Superpowers, and I asked it to recommend other books to me, and it did. In fact, had kind of an extensive conversation with so the AI. One of my first videos, probably like my 6th or 7th video, was stumping ChatGPT on some comic book questions. But clearly, the AIs have gotten much better in their comic book knowledge at this point. So I asked it for recommendations. And one of those books I bought along with Project Superpowers was Shadow Man by Valiant. And I hadn't read it yet, but I really liked what I saw. So I started asking the AI. Some of the things it recommended to me were X-O-Man of War, which I have been grabbing issues of that from the 90s here and there. Ray, Unity, some other stuff. But so I've started grabbing Ray. This is from the 90s. Ray is the cyborg samurai who is the protector of Japan in the year 40,041, or is it 4001? Either way, give or take a few decades. So this is a collection of some of the Ray 90s comics. I don't know if it's an origin. Don't know if it's an origin story or not. Yes, it is. It starts with issue number 1, as you can see. So the whole thing is rebooted later on. Bear with me. So I picked this up today at my LCS. So yeah, the whole thing was rebooted later on. So are there collected editions of the 90s Ray? Yes, there are trade paperbacks. A little bit hard to find. Is there an omnibus? I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. The newer iteration from the 2000s, I don't know if this is in the aughts or 2014, 2015. That's what this book is. And when they rebooted what Valiant calls the Heroverse, it included Ray, it included X-O-Man of War, it included Ninjak, it included Unity, Harbinger, probably some more I'm forgetting about. But this was a recommendation to me from AI. And thumbing through it, I can see why. The artwork is beautiful. I don't know. I didn't look to see Clayton Crane. Oh, David Mack. Yeah, so David Mack. And David Mack is just spectacular. If you've ever seen any of his kabuki stuff, oh man, it's just David Mack he's like Shikanich, but I'm getting a different vibe from him on this book. he's reading the room with this book. He's doing this kind of real good cyber, noir. Very cyberpunk aesthetic going on. But it still has that David Mack style to it. And David Mack knows cyberpunk because Kabuki was, it had cyberpunk elements to it, especially that first volume, which was all black and white, which is just a spectacular book. I think they published a color version of it. And then he started doing all of them in color later on. And I think I've got 2 or 3 volumes of Kabuki. They're like in these big library-sized books, He does a lot of mixed media in those books. He's more traditional in these. But, yeah, this is kind of an omnibus-sized book, or at least a compendium-sized book. And I'm super stoked to read it. Probably my mission now to read all of these, the 90s ones, and then the more recent rebooted modern ones. I told you it was obsession. It was like an obsession. Unity is the team-up book. This is the superhero team. Oh, by the way, a lot of these are written by Matt Kent, who is just rapidly becoming one of my contemporary favorite writers. I missed out on all this stuff when it came out, But yeah, Unity brings together Ninjak, Eternal Warrior, Livewire, Toyo Harada, and Exo Man of War, of whom I'm only familiar with Ninjak, Exo, and Eternal Warrior. I thought Ray was in this group, but I guess he's further into the future. Although I believe these heroes, their fate is addressed in future issues of Ray, because they are in a shared universe. It's just that Ray takes place in the year 4000. Eternal Warrior, also 90s Valiant Comics. I've got a few floppies of that I picked up here and there, because I was like, well, I'm just going to slowly collect these titles, and then but I didn't know about these rebooted ones, so now I'm kind of just going to read these modern ones and then go back into the 90s ones, because they really are kind of their own separate, continuities. And then I thought I had all the Project Superpowers, but I do not. I have Project Superpowers Evolution now. This is the sequel to the 3 omnibus volumes that I showed you earlier in this video about 28 minutes ago. This is not by Alex Ross and Jim Kruger, though. So I don't know if I'm going to like the stories or not as much. The artwork looks pretty decent. You see their green llama is there. Apparently American Spirit, the floating American flag, has a person in it now, like a young girl or something. So here's Samson. Yeah, I was a little on the fence about even getting it, because it seems like they, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, the main story arcs are done. Maybe they waited a couple of years and then they brought in a different team to sort of cash in and sort of try to rejuvenate it. I think this only ran for about 6 issues. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll rate it and see what I think. (4001 AD). So this is associated with Ray Samurai, the cyborg samurai. This also has artwork from David Mack. This is supposed to be even further into the future. And it's about New Japan, and sort of like whatever the future of New Japan came to be, and whatever happened to Ray. And there's another volume even after this, and that one is even further out into the future. That one, supposedly, from what I read on the synopsis, I didn't buy that one, but that one addresses not just Ray's fate, but Exo-Man of War and Ninjak and the other characters. So it looks gorgeous. The artwork in that looks gorgeous. And while I was on my Valiant kick, Bloodshot got on my radar, so I scooped up a bunch of these at steep fractional discounts. And again, AI told me to start with Bloodshot Reborn. No, I don't believe Bloodshot has anything to do with the other heroes that we've looked at. I kind of like this minimal artwork, though. It's got a animation minimalist vibe. There's a lot of different artists in this book, though. I don't know much about Bloodshot. I think it's kind of your standard badass assassin, conflicted anti-hero story. I guess the Vin Diesel movie didn't do too well based on this. But I'll probably check it out knowing that it was based on a comic book. That is a shame, because it just seems like anything that's not Marvel or DC can't really get any traction in the movies. Even like the Millar verse, Jupiter's Legacy, excellent show on Netflix, canceled after one season. At least with Kick-Ass, there were at least 2 Kick-Ass movies, or were there 3? But yeah, the Jupiter's Legacy stuff, I'm actually gonna go and read all of that too, because my introduction to it was through the TV show on Netflix. And then, based on what I've just shown you, where my current interests lie with comics, Jupiter's Legacy is right up that alley. Plus, it was another title recommended to me in this conversation I had with artificial intelligence. What is this one? This is Book of Revelations. This is volume 3. So I've got Salvation, volumes 1, 2, and 3. This is like a lone wolf and cub scenario, right? Where he's protecting the child. I think it's his kid. It's his little baby. That's volume 1. He looks like Ray, doesn't he? I was getting these two characters confused for the longest time. I mean, he is the same character. Am I tripping here? Because here's Bloodshot, okay? And there's Ray. So the big red dot on the chest. I mean, am I missing something here? I don't know. Maybe this is current day, and then Ray is a version of this guy in the future as a samurai. I don't know. So maybe they are connected, which intrigues me. Now I want to find out. I want to know not just how they're connected. I want to know the entire story, the entire history, the entire chronological history. How did this guy go from being an anti-hero super assassin to like a cyborg samurai in New Japan in the year 4000? How does that happen? So I was like, well, I better pick up Eternal Warrior and start getting familiar with that. The interesting thing about Eternal Warrior and these other heroes, Bloodshot Ray, I think they're all pretty much immortal to a certain extent. And then you got Matt Kindt, who wrote most of that stuff. And then, you know, he wrote Berserker with Keanu Reeves. So a lot of similarities there. And I like Berserker. I have the first 7 or 8 issues of it when it first came out. Now there's been other iterations of it that have been coming out that I haven't collected those. Eventually I'll probably get them in the trade paperback, but yeah, I mean just Matt Kindt seems to have the chops to write those types of characters. Also picked this up too. Britannia Volume 1. It's another Valiant comic book. Who knows? This takes place in the ancient time period, 65 AD. And who knows? This may be connected to that entire Valiant universe as well. But the artwork in this is really cool. Really, really detailed. Now, there is a larger collected volume of this now. I think it's an omnibus. But I wanted to give this a shot first because it's the first 6 issues, actually the first 4 issues, to see if I like it, and then I'll make a decision if I'm going to go all the way with it. Oh yeah, this is volume 2 of Bloodshot Reborn. This got lost in the stack. God is Dead. Has anybody read this? I thought it was a Jonathan Hickman book. So this is volume 2 and volume 8. I thought Jonathan Hickman wrote this. Anyway, God is dead, long live the gods, but which ones? After the cataclysmic battle of gods, the human religions are left in tatters and civilization in ruin. The human-born goddess Gaia has laid claim to Earth, and very few dare to oppose such an absolute divine ruler. But oh, so many gods have yet to make their play. This time they have seen the folly of their peers. Now they plan and plot and prepare to bring Armageddon. That's a concept that's right up my alley. I don't know how long this ran. I think it ran for quite a while because volume 8 here has the final issues, 43 through 48. So yeah, almost 50 issues. Yeah, it says Jonathan Hickman's God is Dead. So I guess he is the conceptual writer because he's not being credited as the writer of each issue. It just says that he created it. So I guess Hickman created the concept, which this seems like a Hickman type of concept. Oh, don't get me started on Jonathan Hickman because I have the Avengers omnibuses and I have that Shield book he did. And now that's going to lead me to Fantastic Four and just the whole Hickman saga inside of Marvel. I think he also was the architect of the Illuminati. I've already read Infinity. Infinity was great. Infinity actually was one of those books that kind of got me back into comics. I just kept seeing it everywhere, heard so much about it, knew that Thanos was involved. At the time, was getting excited about the MCU just getting started. And when I saw Thanos, you know, in that stinger scene, in which movie was it? Thor? The first Thor movie, maybe? No, the first Avengers movie. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta, because I already read Infinity Gauntlet back in the day, so I was like, okay, I gotta see what's going on with Thanos. So I grabbed that Infinity book, that omnibus, and was like, wow, okay, cool. I was like, I got a lot of catching up to do. Hellspawn, the Ashley Wood collection. I'm not like a big Spawn fan. Actually, I'm not even a Spawn fan at all, really. I'm kind of indifferent to Spawn, but it's Ashley Wood, and I love Ashley Wood's artwork, so I bought it. And as usual, it doesn't disappoint in terms of the art. It is very much a horror comic. But it's got a big gorilla in it, which is always a must. I don't know anything about Hellspawn. I guess it's kind of like Hellboy in Hell. I guess it's like Spawn in Hell. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Spawn mythos to intelligently speak about what this comic book is about. But the artwork is fantastic. Let's see if there's a... Yeah, very cool. I had no idea Ashley Wood was doing any Spawn comics. Kirby Genesis, Dragonsbane. So yeah, these Dynamite Kirby Genesis. I showed you Kirby Genesis on my last video. I didn't know that this was a thing. I thought there was just a Kirby Genesis book, which I grabbed, but that was kind of like a banner. So they did a Kirby Genesis Silver Star, this Dragonsbane, and then I believe Captain Victory. Which Silver Star and Captain Victory had their runs in Pacific Comics. So I don't know. I guess Dynamite was able to get permission from the Kirby estate to kind of continue those. And then Dragonsbane was an unrealized character that Kirby was working on. So while Jack Kirby did not write these comics, they are based off his character creations and concepts. So I'm down. I'm totally down for that. Yeah, so I've got Kirby Genesis. I think I've got Kirby Genesis Captain Victory, Dragonsbane. I might have the Silver Star one. That I need to check to see. If not, I need to snag it because they had it at my comic shop. But I was like, I think I have this. I just haven't read it yet. Do you have that problem as a comic book collector? Exo Man of War. So my introduction to Exo in terms of these this new era from Valiant, I went and got the TPBs, and these are like $4 at Second and Charles. And that was volume 1. This is volume 2. Volume 3, Volume 4. Now I know that Valiant has a thicker omnibus like the ones I've showed you, but I already had these, so I didn't get it. And then this one, Soldier, is just a different story arc. The artwork in this one is cool. So if you don't know about X-O-Man of War, basically he's a Visigoth from back in the day. Maybe he might appear in that Britannia book. I don't know. But he's a Visigoth. Somehow he gets transported to, I think in the original 90s comics, current day, and he gets into a suit of armor, kind of like Iron Man. In fact, I think there's an X-O-Man of War Iron Man crossover out there somewhere, which I will be researching. I will find it. I will. I will find it. So we're coming up on an hour, and you know, I don't know, maybe an hour video will do better than my 25-minute videos. I keep hearing different things, like sometimes 20 minutes, you know, under 20 minutes, or under 25, or 13 minutes. But my hour-long videos actually end up doing pretty decently. Yeah, so I think this one, born under the oppressive thumb of the Roman Empire, Eric of Dacia learned warfare at an early age. Yeah, this is another Matt Kent written book. So I don't know if he's on a different planet now or in that one. Killock, the Artisan Wraith. I can't read this till I get the first volume, which is just Killock, but this guy, Livio Ramondelli, got on my radar with Transformers. I forget the name. I think it might have been Dark Cybertron was the book he worked on. Anyways, the artwork was excellent. I just love the guy's style. And when I heard he was doing his own book, which is Killock, I said, I'm down for that. He's really good at drawing robots and mecha. I like his styling, and I think he does. I'm pretty sure he does all of the art, all of the coloring. Yeah, story and art by Livio Ramondelli, and letters by Sean Lee. So he does all of the visuals in this. I got to check out some videos and see what his process is. I think that he works in tablet with Photoshop, and I'm sure some other rendering software. But then again, I don't know. I have a memory of maybe watching him put some stuff down on paper with pencil and pen too. So then maybe he just scans it in and adds the digital effects later. But he's one of these guys who does make extensive use of digital. But I like that. I like the way his digital looks. I've said this on previous videos. I think digital waters down a lot of comics, but the way he does it, he puts more thought into it. That's what I like. So I'm not opposed to digital. I just think when you look at like a lot of Marvel books, especially, they just kind of hit that paint bucket button to fill in colors, and there's just not a lot of creativity to it. Last one. Superman, the first wave of comic book heroes. So I got this at my LCS today. Why? Because it's right up there with that concept at the beginning of the video with Project Superpowers. All of these Golden Age heroes, most of them have no claim, no copyright claim. You and I could use them to write stories right now. I'm going to find them in this book most likely. And yeah, here's one already. This guy's in Project Superpowers. The infamous Claw, one of the most horrifying villains ever. He's in Project Superpowers because nobody owns him. And Silver Streak, he's also in Project Superpowers. So this, I think, is the source material for a lot of the work that Alex Ross and Jim Kruger did in Project Superpower. So now, I'm actually now coveting this, but I'm going to be like, yeah, I need to read this now. This is almost like the companion book. Because when I was reading all of those origin stories as they were retelling in Project Superpowers, Omnibus 1, 2, and 3, I was like, man, it would be cool to go back and look at those original comic origin stories. This is where you're probably going to find a lot of them, is in this book. Because I was like, well, you know, Dynamite Comics should put out a companion book for this, but they haven't, to my knowledge. But this book should suffice. I don't know who that one is. Who's that? Oh, the Great Yarko. See, he wasn't in Superpowers. Marvello was. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at this. That's beautiful. That looks like Basil Wolverton. Yep. Space Hawk. Man, is Space Hawk, is he royalty free now? Can we make a Space Hawk comic? Oh, the Flame. He was in Project Superpowers. Isn't that awesome? It's just, I didn't even know this book existed. I just saw it today. I was like, wait a minute. This has got all those old school comic book heroes that I just read in their modern, updated versions. Okay. I said that was the last one. I forgot. There is one more old school. Lance Lewis, Space Detective. Who loves these PS art books? I have a few of these. These are so good. They're made in the UK. They find their way over to America, but if you go to their website, like all of the prices are like in the pound, you know? I don't know what the exchange rate is, but when I used to work in London, the rule of thumb was if something was 30 pounds, it was like 38 US dollars. Like you could just tack on in 8 increments of like, you know, $2 for every 10 or so. So 250, you know, but these, I'm still reading this one. I'm almost done with it. See my bookmarker in there. But these are gorgeous comics. The reproduction is, I'm sure they did the best they could. But they just, you can't beat these retro sci-fi comics, man. They're just so wacky. You see these aliens here, they just like bounce around. They're like big turtles, and like the villain dude is like a skull-faced dude. Lance Lewis is a space detective, and yet he's like waging war on all these evil alien criminals. Oh, here's the Amoeba Man. Where's the one? There is one in here. Oh, this is cool. You can probably find PDFs of these comics online, but I like to have the physical. I like to read physical comics. Oh yeah, these guys here, the Crabmen. The aliens back in these came out, I think, in the 50s. The aliens just they crack me up. There's another one. Oh yeah, these guys. Look at these aliens. It's just a big goofy face with a pencil mustache and 4 arms and 2 legs and an antenna dish on his head and vampire fangs. It's just goofy. Did I show that page already? I apologize. I think we got some Ace Buckley in here too. It's not all Lance Lewis. I don't think I've ever read Ace Buckley before. Interesting. Almost doesn't even look sci-fi. I think it might be yeah. It's more like historic fantasy. So they pulled these out of a. Oh, I think Ace Buckley. I think he's a guy from the future, but he goes back to the past. One of those deals. And he's wait a minute. I think I just saw a rocket ship. Yeah. Okay, he's a time traveler. That's what it is. See? There's his time traveling ship. Yeah, good retro stuff. Good retro stuff. Love the colors in there too. All right. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. I'm overwhelmed. Until the next one. Well, before I leave. So I hope you enjoyed this overwhelming cavalcade of comics. I am gosh, I'm going to read that Superman book next because it's going to be a nice chaser to Project Superpowers. But then I want to get started on Shadow Man, and I don't know where to start on that other Valiant stuff. I think I'll start with Man of War because I think that probably makes the most sense for some reason. And then I'll then along with that I'll read all the recent floppies I've got. And probably sit down and finally read all those Absolute Batmans. So, a lot of good stuff. I have more comics than I have time, which I think is a problem that everybody has. Wearing the X-Man hat today. So, until the next one, read all your comics, all the comics that you can, all the comics you have time to read, and stay geek.